Alright guys, back here with another video, and this time we're going to be going over some fun stuff for the Traptrix deck. So, if you aren't familiar with side deck patterns and stuff like that, I can go over that a little bit in the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you're smashing the like button, leaving comments below what you want, kind of content you want to see. If you like this type of content, I want to make sure that it's known in the comments. Really appreciate it. And over 4,000 new eyes watched the channel recently, and I really appreciate that. So make sure you guys are subscribing. We could get this channel up to 5,000 subs really quickly, and it would be really nice and make it seem where my team would recognize that you guys really want us to make more content for Yu-Gi-Oh! Because we do a lot of content for other games. So if you like those other games like Digimon, One Piece, Dragon Ball, and Pokemon, etc., make sure you're staying tuned for those videos as well. But let's go ahead and get into it. So I wanted to go over a lot of different things for side decking and options that you have available. And I make sure that I'm mentioning that some of these cards are not necessary. Like, for example, you really don't need Thrust, but I think it's pretty good against certain matchups where you really want to see Raigeki. That's pretty much what I was pairing it for. And it also can grab your trap holes, and it can also grab, and it also kind of combines with like does well with Mantis because you can put it back in your hand. I don't think it's that necessary, but and it also might come out of my side deck or maybe go down to 2 copies so I can make room for something else. But the Raigeki was really nice. In my opinion, I don't need Dark Hole. Dark Hole would only be really if I was worried about Rise of Disciple more. So keep that in mind. I prefer, like, when you're building your side deck, you need to make sure you're keeping an eye on what your meta is playing. If the Rise of Disciple is more common, most definitely go for Dark Hole. And if you don't want to play Lingaribo, you play Dark Hole. But Raigeki in theory is almost always better because you play Floodgate Trap Hole and your monsters go face down. So you got Book of Eclipse, and in combination with that with Raigeki is just backbreaking. So keep that in mind. Then you have Cosmic Cyclone, which I really wish I would have played in my side deck. It's shout out to Houston. I probably would have been in a lot better position if I played against him playing this in my side deck. Right, Feather Duster didn't come up really at all, but it's searchable Thrust. But this is just good against the mirror, and but this right here is just crazy. And Raigeki is probably the best card in the mirror match. If like not best card, but like that and Evenly are just super good. They don't like kill the deck, like, but it makes it really easy for you to push through the board because you're unaffected by the trap cards themselves. But you need to kill Rayflesia, so Raigeki kills those immediately. To the monsters in this side, because that was all the spells that I wanted to showcase. You can also side Tactics, and you could probably also side deck like Book of Moon. That's also an option, or the other one, but I prefer the Book of Eclipse. You could also side Change of Heart and stuff like that, depending on how you build your side deck. But let's get into it. So side deck cards like hand traps. So Ogre, Droll, Bell, Context C, and Nib. So these cards are really nice. But this is really budget. This is really budget. If you can find the cheap ones, like the commons for this, these are all budget now for the most part. Nibiru is probably the most expensive one, but it's also not that crazy against a lot of decks because they're playing around it heavy. So they feel like you're going to do this to them, they just won't play into it, or they're playing cross out for it. But nobody's really playing cross out for like these cards. So keep that in mind when you're playing against some of these decks. They might catch somebody slipping with Droll, and it might end their entire turn. Ogre is good against the Sprite deck. It's also good against the Naturia deck because of the Runic card, Field Spell. And then you have Context C, which is pretty good against Kashtira and a few other decks, like Branded. So keep those, and this card's good against Branded too. So keep these in mind depending on your meta. These are really good cards to be in your main or side deck. Mostly, Nibiru would be probably in your main deck. If you're not playing it in the main, you're siding it for sure. But yeah. And then you have the traps. So you have like D-Barrier. And then if you're not playing evenly main, which you should be, in my opinion. But these for sure will be in your side if you're not playing. Well, for sure this, it'll be your main and side. But a lot of people are siding Barrier just because it's a blowout card sometimes. And then like Time Space Trap Hole. Or the other, whichever trap hole you feel like is best in your side for your meta. This card's really good because it doesn't destroy. But there's also Void Trap Hole and a few other cards that are really good too. But yeah, the side deck trap holes, like if you feel like you need specific ones for specific matchups, like for example, Floodgate Trap Hole's not that great in some matchups, so but it is pretty good in most matchups. So keep that in mind that these cards are all very versatile. The holes, that is. Then you got the Solemn Judgment and the Anti-Spell blowout cards. And then you also have Goes and Match, which is an awesome option. It's not here. It's in one of my boxes. I forgot to get it out. But Goes and Match is most definitely probably a side deck card, and some people are maining it. But and then you have Torrential Tribute, which is also an option too. Pretty good card because you're unaffected by the trap effects. And then people are side decking these cards. If you haven't seen, this is a very common thing with the Spriggans combo. You go into Spriggans rank 4, then you go put Sargus over top, grab this, grab this, grab this. So you sacrifice this, and then you get to play Regulus to put this. And you basically got a searchable Solemn Judgment, which is really cool if you play that rank 4 engine. But with Pot of Prosperity, it does become really hard to fit all this into your side deck with your extra deck. So keep that in mind. Just over like a thing to note before we go forward. If you want to find room in the extra, you can technically cut some of these cards. Maybe cut down this to 1 if you really feel like you're not too scared of Cashier, but this is just super good. And you sometimes can make 2 of these in a game. And then this card, I most definitely put this in after realizing that there were multiple times where I would have made this and win the game. I wonder where my German secret is hiding somewhere, but I've been looking over for it, but I can't. And I only play 1 copy of Rafflesia, so that's most definitely some extra deck side extra space you make. Some people don't play Coolarium or Awesome, but these cards are, like, I think this is really necessary for sure, so don't take this out. There are multiple situations where Coolarium comes up, and Awesome is really just good if you want to bring back someone's Finner. Not that crazy, but it's nice whenever it comes up. Probably could come out of the side deck for sure, the extra deck for sure. Things I wanted to mention. If you're playing Prosperity, it helps you dig for your side deck cards. That's pretty much, and that's a huge plus. You could technically side out 1 copy to make sure you don't brick on them, but you would prefer to see this than not seeing it. So 3 is nice. But you could technically side out 1 of these if you really want to make room for cards. Like I said earlier, manipulate the holes between your main and side. Like sometimes like if you're playing this one or Thomas Anderson in the main, you'd probably can side it out depending on the match. Side out the second Floodgate trap hole depending on the matchup. It's really nice because you want to see a hole really in your open hand to discard off a Myrmilio or do the Myrmilio combo with Holotea, which is one of your best plays, if not your best play. If you have Parallel Seed, you're still broken with that. But you don't need that many holes, so keep that in mind that you can technically take out a hole if you really want to make room for siding patterns. If you're going first, you really don't need to see this card at all, unless you feel like you need it for like if you just aren't prepared to take this out of your deck. But in reality, you don't need this. If you know you're going first, for sure, you take this out, and you have 3 spots you can put in a Solemn Judgments or put in your Negate package, depending on which one you prefer. 1 searchable by rank 4, but that play is kind of scary to make if I'm being honest with you. So keep that in mind. Then you have Parallel Seed. You can technically side out 1 copy of this, because once you see 1, that's it. If you're playing Prosperity, you should be able to see it, which, like, it's nice. This is a powerful play, but you don't necessarily need it to play the game. If you're playing 3 copies or 2 copies of Pudica, you don't technically need this to play the game. And we only really need 2 Ratnacampa to play. So we don't really need more than 1. But it's searchable. So these are cards you can trim down to fit in. These cards, like when you're trying to side, because a lot of times you want to side in multiple cards, like 6 to 9 cards, and so you can trim down on Ash because once per turn if you really don't think it's that great in the matchup. But Ash is really, really good right now. If you feel like you could side out Imperm because you're going first, it's like maybe one of those. So because you have plenty of other traps and you want to see other cards, different hand traps, most definitely think about that when you're making your side deck patterns. Because it really depends on what you have in your side deck specifically, because not everyone plays the same. But yeah, thank you guys for showing us a love. Over 4,000 of you new eyes were watching the channel. Make sure you guys are subscribing and showing us some love. See you guys in the next one. Deuces.